Hi, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Nichol Barros, and I have a son, Jaden, who's 8 years old, and he has autism and developmental delay and sensory input disorder. And what I'm going to present to you is a behavioral toolkit that I created, because when Jaden was first diagnosed with autism, I had no idea what it was. I felt lost. And so as the years progressed, I saved all the different tools that I used that I found beneficial for Jaden. And I just like to share them with other parents, because if I can make someone else's journey a little bit easier, I'm more than happy to do that. So for those of you who've seen my toolkit in the past, I kind of condensed it today because piggybacking off of Prox Talker, and they're going to present on what they have as well. As I go along, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to stop and ask me, because at the end, someone's going to get to take this one. So through my journey with Jaden, I have learned that he's very visual, and he learns better by actually seeing things and having things broken down to him. And one of the things with Jaden, it was hard for him to move on to the next subject, or he needed to know what was coming ahead of time. And it was easier for him to see. Our most difficult time is if he was playing and it was time to eat or it was time to go outside, he just couldn't do that. A lot of people might have heard of the PEC system. How many people have heard of that? Okay, great. It makes my job a little bit easier. So what it is pictures that you use, and this is a schedule board that I created for Jaden, and what it was is it lets him move on from one topic to the next, so that he knows, like, and this one is like getting ready for bed. So the scenario is you would brush your teeth, take a bath, read a story, and go to bed. So that on the first one, when he's brushing his teeth, he can look and see, okay, the next thing I know, we're going to take a bath. So it helps him move on from one thing to the next. I would recommend, when you do this, that you have no more than like 3 or 4. You don't want to have too many things on here that are going to overwhelm the child. Just keep it simple. And in the bag that I have, there's like over 65 pictures of different things that you can use. And some people put magnets on the back where you can hang it on the refrigerator or hang it anywhere that you like. And we also have a smaller version that I created that you can use if you're traveling, if you're going to your mom's house or for a babysitter or anywhere. There's a smaller version. So that's basically with this schedule. And another thing with this schedule is I tend to use this in the bathroom. Like, for your typical children, this example is brushing your teeth. For your typical children, you can just say, go in the bathroom and brush your teeth. Well, for children with autism, you can't. You have to break it down step by step. And this makes it easier. And literally, it's like, get the toothbrush, wet the toothbrush, get the toothpaste, take the cap off the toothpaste, because it helps them. You have to like break down the instructions. And just as simple as this will make your life so much easier. And you can do this teaching them like how to zip up your pants, unzip up your pants, or when you're taking a shower, like the different things that you can do. So this is just an example of literally how you break everything down step by step. So does anyone have any questions on the schedule part of it? Right, making my job easier. Okay, another thing that I found is with Jaden, I would never ever bring him to the grocery store. It was a nightmare. He would fall out, he would run around, he would yell and scream, and I would have people like making comments, and I got tired of explaining like my child has autism and what that means. So what I did to help me is when we go to the grocery store, I just get pictures of what you're buying and just put them on here and bring it to the grocery store, so that he's not focused on his surroundings or what's going on. He's looking at this and he's like, okay, the first thing we're getting is toothpaste. And then once he gets the toothpaste, take that off. Okay, the next thing we're getting apples. The only problem that I caution with you is Jaden, like, is a literal thinker. Like, with this, he sees the toothpaste. So in his mind, he has to go to the apples next. It doesn't matter if the toothpaste is here and the milk's here. Like, I could be running back and forth around the aisles. So just know your child and arrange it accordingly. This works really great, and again, I would only keep a little bit of things on here at a time. Some people find at the grocery store doing a list, like a checkoff list as well. And we've worked our way up to like 15 minutes. Like, this isn't like a cure-all where you can go to the grocery store and get like 100 items. That's not gonna work. So you just let your child guide you as to what's best. We've worked our way up to 15, 20 minutes. So I know after 20 minutes, I have to be done or we're gonna have a meltdown. Another thing that I use this little piece for is for dealing with like emotions and feelings. Sometimes the children really don't understand, like, what does it mean to be happy, or, you know, what does it mean to be sad? And like I know with Jaden, he had a difficult time like reading stories. He couldn't comprehend like what the pictures in the stories meant. Like, he had to be taught like what it was to be sad. So what I did was, I would teach him one thing at a time. Put a picture on here and show him like sad. And then this is where you get creative and you get to like act out. Like, you could like have a piece of candy and drop it on the floor and be like, oh my God, I'm sad. And like keep pointing back to being sad. And then you would move on to the next thing. Like for happy, then you would create a scenario of being happy. Like, let's say you threw up a ball and you caught it, you could be like, yay, Jaden. And that's what happy would be. The thing that I caution when you do something like this is you want to make sure that they're not just memorizing the pictures and what they mean. So like, once you teach, I would say like do one at a time, but once you get to like 3, then you act out a scene and ask like, okay, am I happy, sad, or mad? Just to make sure they're understanding the emotions and the feelings. The next, I don't know if people are familiar with the first then board. Has anyone worked with this? Okay, great. So for those of you who haven't, the first then board is, I use it especially with my children who hate to share. They're constantly fighting. So what I'll do is, I have a son and a daughter, so I would put this picture, and this would be for Jaden, and this little girl would be for my daughter. So I would tell him, okay, first Jaden, and then Janae. And then keep like pointing him back to this, because it's not a magic thing like, okay, first Jaden, then Janae, and it's going to go smooth. That doesn't happen. So you have to keep redirecting them to first Jaden, then Janae. Some parents find it helpful to actually have pictures of their actual children on here. It makes it easier for them. And you want to give them like a time. Like, you could say, first Jaden will have it for 5 minutes, and then Janae will have it for 5 minutes. So you can either do the child's face, or you could do first my turn, then your turn. So this is one tool for helping children with sharing. Another thing that people might use the first then for is, let's say if it's time to eat dinner and your child's playing and he doesn't want to come to the dinner, you could use this to say first eat, then play. First eat and then play, and just redirect them back to this, like first eat and then play. These are just a couple of examples of what you can use this for, but you can be really creative with this. Okay. Another thing I have is with Jaden, he tends to yell and scream and shout and hit other children, or he won't listen, or if I'm trying to talk to him, he'll like cover his ears just so he can ignore me. So what I've created is a star chart. And so the way that it works is if he has good listening, gentle hands, and uses a regular voice, he will get a star. So, like if he shows, and I tend to do a lot of positive reinforcement, because I find with negative reinforcement, when you take something away, it's not as effective as using positive reinforcement. So if he's able to show me that he's able to do one of these, then he will get a star and work his way up to 4 stars. And if he's able to successfully get 4 stars, then he'll earn himself a prize or a reward, whatever it may be. Some children might have a difficult time doing 4, so again, you would let your child guide you. They might need like 2 or 3 stars. I would never do just 1, because that's not enough for the child to work towards. And the different things that we use is like when they get a surprise, I tell Jaden he can go into the treasure chest. And what I use, we actually have like a wooden box at home, but when I do things with parents, you can use like a a white box, or you can use like a white shoe box and have the child decorate it. And what you want to put in there is if your child's working towards earning a prize, you want to put something in there that they like, but something that they don't have all the time. Because if it's something they get all the time, they're not going to work towards it. Or if you want to put something that they get all the time, you can put it in here, but then don't give it to them. We put like, the Dollar Tree has the little tiny face pot that you add water. We put the toys that spin around. I might put like fruit snacks in here, like pencils, whatever you think is best for your child. And the last thing that I have that I wanted to touch upon is social stories. Are a lot of people familiar with social stories? Okay, great. So for a social story, I use that if I want to teach Jaden something or prepare him for what's going to happen. Jaden has a hard time transitioning, so at every school year, he can't just come September and go into his next class. What we have to do in April is let him know what class he's going into. He'll go visit the class for an hour, meet the teacher, and then over the summer, we'll read books about it and we'll do social stories. And a social story is a short, quick piece with pictures, and it's simple sentences that prepares the child or teaches the child for something. In this instance that I have, we created a social story to prepare Jaden for going into his classroom for next year. So this says, I will be visiting Miss Moran's room. I'm only visiting Miss Moran's class this year. In September, I will be in Miss Moran's class all day. I will have fun at Miss Moran's class and I will be learning new things. So this lets him know the pictures and it keeps it simple as what's going to happen and what for him to expect. So I know I went through this really quick, but I was trying to give Glenn some time to talk with his talker. But does anyone have any questions or any other suggestions, or is there anything that someone else does that they might want to share with other parents? Yes.
Yeah, I guess maybe if we could go into a little bit how you would make more of the material, what software you might use, or how you would approach that, if you wanted to, like, you know, make more of those things.
The software is kind of expensive, so what I've done is I've saved the pictures from the different therapists that have given them to me. Or you can go online and they have like pictures that you can get, or you can use magazines. There's, I think it's called.
You can just use Google Images too. What I've done, what I did for my daughter, who was lower functioning than Jaden, but used pictures, and I have pictures stuck all over my house with Velcro, is to take pictures of the actual thing. You know, because that's the most meaningful to the child. You know, if it, you know, pictures of yourselves or pictures of your favorite toy, or even pictures of somewhere that you're going. Like, you know, thank God for technology now that's, you know, board maker is what exists out
That's
there,
what I was
but
gonna say, that's so expensive.
it is expensive, and quite frankly, it's much more removed from the actual thing. And, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that you have to take the same exact toy. You could just take a picture of a toy and then write toy over it, so it's just an association. But once they learn that picture means a certain thing, then they're going to pick the picture for not necessarily the one specific item, but that type of item. So they learn, you know, what the pictures stand for very quickly, especially if it's when they want something. So
There's another thing I know called Lesson Picks. If you haven't heard of it, I think it's $35 a year or something like that, and it is like Board Maker.
That's good. And Carolyn, you brought up a good point. Jaden used to hate going outside, so what I did was I took a picture of my car and I put going out, so that when I used this schedule and he's seen the picture of our car, he would know that, okay, we're going out. So thank you for bringing that up. That's an excellent point. Yes?
Just a quick question between school and home. How is the information transferred? How is what you use at home and what's being done at school, how does that communication happen? Because there's different things that's going on between schools.
Oh yes, you brought up a good point, and thank you. Jaden has a daily communication log that is written into his IEP. So every day he'll be sent home with a note from the teacher. And what I do is in the beginning of the year, I introduce myself to the teacher, find out what they're working on so that when he comes home, it's carried over so that we're working on the same thing. Because it's kind of hard if I'm working on one thing and the school is working on something different. It might be too overwhelming for the child, so I know I use a daily communication log and it's built into his IEP so that I have to get that sent home every day.
I'm just thinking about language as far as him being able to express himself, because you guys may have developed your own language that he understands and he can do things for you. and then going in with a new person and trying to understand that they're using different pictures. I'm just curious to know how that happens, not communication between you and teacher, but language between student and
Yep,
teacher
I see what
and
you're saying.
student
With
and
his,
parents.
anybody that was working with them, I met with them, and that's where honestly where I got most of my pictures from. From the pictures that they used with Jaden, they gave me a copy as well. You're right, you bring up a good point. It does make sense for you to work with the teachers or the therapists so that you're using the same pictures so they won't be confused, like eat might look one way than to what's at school. So yes, you have to work with the teachers or the therapists so that everyone's on the same page, or at least try and be on the same page.
And is that built into your IEP to make sure that that happens? Because I know with my own child, I need to make sure that we're reinforcing what they're doing at school. I have to be able to help them at home, just like any child gets homework.
Yeah, not necessarily using the same pictures. What's built in is the daily communication load. But I find with his teachers, as long as I go and I'm speaking to them, they're very receptive and we work great together. I haven't had any of his teachers who weren't willing to work with me, or nothing's perfect. If I did have a problem, I would just ask to schedule a meet with her. Or a lot of times teachers like phone calls or emails going back and forth. You just want to keep that dialogue and communication open. Yes.
Similar to your son, my son has a lot of issues with transition.
Uh-huh.
And how do you handle, I mean, my house is kind of crazy, so it's hard to kind of have everything on schedule. So how do you handle those in certain times where it's more than likely that he'll have a meltdown? So, you know, you have to go to the grocery store really fast because you ran out of milk, or things that you have no control over.
Yeah, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Even with these different tools,
Yeah.
not all of them, and you just made me think of something, not all of them are going to work.
Right.
You have to work with your child and find out what works best for you and your child at a particular situation. Like, especially when you're introducing something new, the child might not want to do that. So I would say try and stick it out for like a week and a half. But if you find that he's still like, or she refuses to do it, why frustrate you or the child? So just find a tool that works best for you and the child.
I would just add to that, you know, if you're doing a schedule with all the things that your child will be doing for the day, because they need that sort of,
Yeah.
that structure, sometimes you can build in a picture or a square that says change and do something differently, but maybe it's not something hugely different
Yeah.
that you can plan to do, and it really gets them to adjust that even though that's the schedule, sometimes a change will be built in,
Okay.
and so it gets them sort of accustomed to being able to do it. So
Okay.
you wouldn't start out with a huge change the first time, but just something they weren't expecting, and saying, oh, that's the change, so now we have to do, and just make up something to do.
Okay.
Then sort of, and see how they handle it, and say, we're gonna go back to our schedule, but this is a change, and this is how we deal with change. You know, behaviors would be able to help you with more concrete than that, but that
Okay.
is a way to sort of build it in, because change happens all the time,
Yeah.
you know that. So you don't want them to be so stuck on
Right.
that schedule
Right.
that when something happens, it's a complete meltdown, but that's a way that you can build it in, by
Okay.
throwing in a change.
Thank you.
Oh, and you bring up a good point, which I just thought of too when you said that. Jaden has to have everything specific the exact same way.
Yeah.
Even picking him up from school and going home, if we go a different route, he will just flip out.
Yeah.
He'll be like, that's not the way to go home, you're going the wrong way. And it's just a nightmare. So he has a behavioral therapist. So what she said is, because sometimes I would get too stuck on like everything here. And she
Yeah.
says, you gotta mix it up, because as Carolyn said, they have to get used to change. Not everything's gonna go the same way. So maybe one day out the week, go a different way.
Okay.
And just like say, Jaden, we're still going home, but we're just gonna go a different way, and do like subtle changes.
Okay.
Yeah. Just, hi.
I was going to also add, if you have siblings involved, including the siblings in the process, whether it's making it fun to change, transition. We use music a lot of times. I learned that from the music therapist many years ago, how they would use songs, and when you hear this song, it's time to do X, Y, and Z. And so incorporating that with the other siblings made it fun, for the most part,
Okay.
to transition and do what we were doing. So if you have more than one child, we try to incorporate that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just speaking with other parents is a great way, because somebody might think of something new, like, oh my God, that's a great idea, I never thought about that. Does anybody else want to share anything that they might do that they find that helps them? So if not, Glenn's gonna talk about his Crop Stalker that he. I didn't take all of them out, but there's tons and tons of pictures in here. And inside here, because I'm so anal and I can't help it, there is a list of all the pictures that are inside the bag, the different picture list for you. And then there's just handouts on why we use visuals and different reasons. Does anyone have any other questions? Or
Did anyone not get a raffle ticket?
Right, so Glenn, if you want to take it over.
Thanks, Nicole.
You're welcome, and I'll move this stuff out of here.
Nicole, very well done. Hi guys, my name is John Tatum. I'm the Vice Chair of BostonSpedPac. I want to thank you all for coming. Some are new faces, some are let's say repeat customers. But we do this for you guys, and we do this so that we can advocate for your kids and teach you guys how to do it for yourself, make it easier, more rewarding, I guess, too, in the fact that it's a more efficient process. And Cindy Nielsen, I don't know if she's still in the room, but even other BPS Sped staff has been with us throughout the year and in the prior years as well. And I want to thank them all for coming, because that is unlike any other district that we have such a good partnership with the staff that they come to our meetings and are part of it. So that helps us get you guys to be able to talk to the right people. And you're not talking to a middle person, so that's very, very important. So one thing I wanted to ask real quickly is there anybody not on our email list right now that wants to get added? You can do that tonight if you'd like. If you're all on it, then we're good.
Is there an email sent about this?
Well, excuse me?
Is there an email sent about it? Because I didn't get an email, and I signed up the last time.
There was an email, so.
Yeah, so I may probably have to put my name on the list again.
All right, you're a troublemaker. Get up here. We'll sign you right up. No, very good. Well, that's it. And I say let's take the summer off. How's that sound?
We don't take any time off.
Right, exactly. We'll keep working on it. Actually, just well, briefly, we met with Tommy Chang and Erica Estrada the other night, and it was a very, very productive conversation and a very nice dialogue, working together and trying to, again, maintain that partnership with the district so that we can be more effective, but also helpful to the district in creating more opportunities, better options for our kids, okay? So we'll keep you posted on that. We'll be meeting with his transition team throughout the summer as well, and we plan to hit the ground running in the fall, and we'll have another slate of interesting things. We have a candidate for at-large in the back.
Hi everybody, I'm Lisa Rosati George. I'm running for City Council at large. I hope that in the fall you'll have all the candidates through like you did last time. I thought that was a great opportunity to talk.
Yep. No, I think we try to open it up so that we can get more people to hear their points of view. And yes, we will definitely take advantage of that. I think it's a great option to have another dialogue with another branch of the government.
And thank you for coming. I know you're very busy.
Yes, thank you.
I'm a parent, BPS parent and a school teacher in Boston, so this is good, great stuff.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Good night.